Have you ever felt a cold dread wash over you in a place that's supposed to be your sanctuary? I was standing in my own garage, surrounded by the smell of sawdust and old paint, holding an Uber receipt. It was for a trip my wife, Sarah, had taken a month ago. 2.7-mile journey every Thursday to a place just across the river. The receipt itself wasn't the problem. The problem was the message at the bottom, a feature I never knew existed. It was a 5-star rating from the driver, a man named Leo, and a note, "Can't wait for next Thursday. Beautiful. Left your red scarf again." My heart hammered against my ribs. Sarah didn't own a red scarf. This is a true story, and if you've ever felt that gut-wrenching twist of betrayal, you know this is just the beginning. Stick with me to see how this unravels, and if you want more stories like this, hit that subscribe button. It helps a lot. Sarah and I had been married for 8 years. We lived in Chicago. In a cozy brownstone we'd poured our souls into renovating. I thought we were happy. I really did. I owned a small architectural firm, and she was a marketing manager at a high-end fashion brand. She was ambitious, beautiful, and the center of my world. The Thursdays started about 6 months ago. She said she was taking a pottery class. "A little me time to get my hands dirty," she'd said with a dazzling smile. I never questioned it. Why would I? Every Thursday evening, she'd come home smelling of clay and contentment, her hands a little rough. She'd kiss me, and everything felt right. But things started to feel off. It was subtle at first. She'd guard her phone like it held state secrets. She'd get messages late at night and laugh them off as work drama. The pottery class became her sacred space.
One time,
I jokingly asked if I could see one of her creations. Her face went cold. "It's personal, Mark. It's my process. You wouldn't understand." The distance between us grew, not like a sudden chasm, but like a slow, creeping frost. The real shift happened about 2 months in. She started criticizing me. My clothes, my friends, the way I loaded the dishwasher. Small, cutting remarks that made me feel an inch tall. She'd praise this new, mysterious pottery instructor, Leo. "Leo says you should always embrace bold choices." She'd comment when I picked a conservative tie. "Leo has this amazing perspective on life. It's not trapped by convention like some people." I was some people. I found the Uber receipts by accident. I was cleaning out the car, and a stack of them fell out of the glove compartment. They were all for her Thursday trips, all paid in cash, all with the same driver, Leo. My blood ran cold. I started digging. Her pottery class was a lie. The address on the receipt was a residential apartment building in Lincoln Park, not a studio. My wife, my Sarah, was taking an Uber to another man's apartment every single Thursday, and the driver was in on it. Or worse. The driver asterisk was asterisk the other man. That night I confronted her, not with anger, but with a quiet, broken question. I held up the receipts. "What's in Lincoln Park, Sarah?" She didn't even flinch. She looked at me, her eyes devoid of any love, and said, "It's none of your business, Mark." She was so arrogant, so sure of herself. When she told me. She and Leo had been seeing each other for months. He was an artist, a free spirit. He understood her in a way I never could. He wasn't her Uber driver, just used the app to pick her up discreetly. It was their little game. The final blow came when she said with a smirk, "And Mark, we're in love. I'm filing for divorce. I want half of everything. The house, your business, everything." I felt the world crumble. For a week, I was a ghost in my own home. I barely ate or slept. She moved into the guest room, flaunting her phone calls with him, laughing loudly, making sure I could hear. She and Leo felt untouchable. They thought I was a broken man, a fool they could just cast aside and rob blind, and I was broken. But as I sat alone in my office one night, staring at the divorce papers her lawyer had sent, something inside me snapped. The grief turned into a cold, hard diamond of fury. She wanted a war. She'd get one. I didn't hire a flashy lawyer. I hired the most ruthless, meticulous private investigator in Chicago. For the next 3 months, I became a different person. I played the part of the shattered husband. I agreed to her terms in our mediation sessions. I cried. I begged. I let her and her lawyer think they had me right where they wanted me. Meanwhile, my pie was building a fortress of evidence. We discovered Leo wasn't an artist. He was a con man with a record. He preyed on wealthy married women, charmed them, and convinced them to leave their husbands, draining their finances in the process. He had done this 3 times before. Sarah was just his latest mark. We gathered photos, videos, audio recordings of them talking about my business, my assets. They laughed about how easy I was, how pathetic. They had a whole plan to take my company's assets and start a new life in California. The red scarf belonged to his previous victim. He was a predator, and my wife had willingly walked into his trap, hoping to get rich off my downfall. The final piece of the plan was a social one. Sarah had always been obsessed with her image. She was a board member of a prominent Chicago charity, a gala she chaired every year. It was her crowning social achievement. I waited. I gathered every piece of evidence, the recordings of them mocking me, Leo's criminal record, financial statements showing he was deep in debt, and sworn affidavits from his other victims. The night of the gala arrived. Sarah was radiant in a silver gown, floating around the room, basking in the adoration of her peers. She looked at me from across the ballroom with a look of pure pity and contempt. She thought she had one. During the main presentation, there was a segment to honor the board members. A video montage was supposed to play, celebrating Sarah's contributions. I had made a little switch. Instead of a glowing tribute, the massive screens flickered to life with a photo of Sarah and Leo kissing on his apartment balcony. Then, an audio clip played. It was Sarah's voice, clear as a bell, laughing. "Mark is such a fool. He's practically signing his life away. We'll be in Malibu before he even realizes his company is bankrupt." The room fell silent. Gasps rippled through the crowd. More photos flashed, evidence of Leo's scams, the faces of his other victims. The final image was a close-up of the divorce filing, where Sarah was demanding 50% of my business, the same business she was planning to gut. The chaos was immediate. Her friends, her colleagues, the people who had admired her all stared in horror. She stood frozen, her face a mask of disbelief, turning to sheer panic. She looked at me, and for the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. I just stood there, at the back of the room, and gave a slow, deliberate nod. The fallout was biblical. She was fired the next day. The charity board removed her. Her friends vanished. Her lawyer dropped her when my lawyer presented the evidence of conspiracy to commit fraud. In our final settlement, she got nothing. Not the house, not a dime from my business. She was left with only the debts she'd racked up and the public humiliation. Leo was gone, having disappeared the moment the scandal broke. She tried calling me once, sobbing, hysterical. I didn't answer. I sold the brownstone. Couldn't stand the ghosts of what I thought we had. I moved to a quiet apartment overlooking the lake. Sometimes I stand on my balcony and look out at the water, and I don't feel anger or sadness anymore. I just feel quiet. Every Thursday I still think about that Uber receipt. The end.